To the reader or the critic, it may concern. Maybe you can help me. I've been having a hard time naming this poem of mine. The problem is, whenever I take a pen to it, all the words, they shift their order around beneath my pen like sand, caught in a torrent of water in the middle of a squall, which is just what my pen has become whenever I go to name this thing.
Seems a bit dramatic, no?
Whenever this happens, whenever the metaphors cry out for help as if to tell me they did not belong there in the first place,
no shit.
Whenever the adjectives beg and bend their way toward oblivion or toward the edge of the page, whichever comes first, it is almost as though my pen were a premature coffin soaked in limpid tears, or a scepter clutched by an ancient stone just waiting for the right person to come along. That's where you come in, to loosen the grooves in its bindings, to shatter the glass with your gaze. Hey.
What? I was listening to that whole first paragraph, okay? I was right there with you, but you started to get all poetic, started talking about the flowers and the what was it?
The scepter?
The scepter. You started talking about the scepter and the flaccid tears. I mean, what is that?
Limpid tears.
Okay, whatever.
Do you even know what a scepter is?
Listen, of course I know what a scepter is. Point is, the problem is not with the reader, okay? It's what the reader is given.
You call yourself a reader? You were snoring.
Yeah, okay, but you have to admit you go a little overboard with the adjectives. I mean, that whole thing with the squall, I mean, what kind of metaphor is that?
It's an analogy.
What is this, the perfect storm? Who are you, Melville?
It's an analogy.
Yeah, but, I mean, okay, all right, whatever. Don't get all upset on me now. Don't go crying or anything, okay? Maybe it's not actually your fault. I mean, poetry is a hard sell these days, even for informed critics like myself. Point is, if you want to work with me, you have to throw me a bone here a little bit, okay? So let's work together. What's your next line? I feel like you should be telling me what this poem is about by now, okay? We should have got there. So what's your next line?
In order for you to name this poem, you'd probably like to know first what it is about.
See? Finally. You see how you read my thoughts and gave me exactly what I want to hear? That's exactly what I want to see more about there, okay? So what do you have next?
Well, that's another problem I've been having. You see, I like to believe that this particular poem is not easily reducible to summary, that it resists the penury of all things permanent.
Penury? Or what is penury?
And all the other tired artifices having to do with plot, character development, and effective use of style and other rhetorical devices.
No. You see, what you're doing there again, you're getting all poetic and really, frankly, dull, okay? You're getting dull. What you need to do is try something different, okay? Más poética, Dios mío. Ándale. Ándale, continue.
This poem, you might say, and I wouldn't disagree with you, is about nothing, and it is about everything at the same time.
Oh, God.
But you see, reader, this is only because you aren't trying hard enough.
You would say that.
I mean, I can't control the reader's thoughts or what he thinks of when he's reading my poems. God only knows what the reader really thinks about.
Blondes, okay? Blondes. Everywhere blondes. Yes, in the perfect stillness of their blossoming.
No,
okay, when you go to the beach in the summer, you see the sun glistening off her thigh, it's oiling, it's moistening, and all the fluids are just percolating.
It's been done. Don't you see, this poem could be so much, it could be so much more than that. This poem could have its sights set beyond the atmosphere, beyond the biosphere, the galaxy, the cumulus of galaxies. This poem could be about what all good poems have always been about, at least as far back as the Greeks on Olympus, the Egyptians lording over Persia, the Sumerians with stylus. You see, this poem could be about
brunettes, blondes, flowers, Oedipus.
Fine, have it your way. This poem is about fucking, and it's about being fucked.
See? Now we're getting somewhere. I wasn't that far off on that.
Anyway, you probably think it's easy to name a poem after these two quintessential themes of all poetry. You probably think you can get away with calling it a trip to the DMV on a Sunday afternoon, for instance.
Hey, that actually happened to me.
Or maybe a letter from the government. Or hold on, I got this. What about the weekend that I hired a wet nurse
to read me bedtime stories.
That's actually pretty good. Or what about the time I fell in love with my neighbor for telling me my typewriter was too loud?
Yeah, so. Okay, what about the time that I organized a threesome, but 2 people didn't show up?
Which explains a lot. You might even make the mistake thinking, as I first did, that a title as broad and simple as just Sunday afternoon could fit the bill.
Sunday after, you got that.
It's true, all of these titles get to the heart of what all poetry, good or bad, is really about. What's more, all of these titles have the added benefit of another deeply cherished philosophy of mine, and that is the imperative to write about what you fear rather than about what you know.
Whoa, I never heard that phrase before, okay? I got my MFA at the Sorbonne, of all places, okay? They never taught that phrase.
Speaking of fear, all of this brings to mind a memory that may have even been the impetus for this poem. And now that I think of it, could provide some much needed insight into what you should do with all of this when the time comes. I'm thinking of the afternoon you came home early from the DMV. Because this was Sunday, and the DMV has always been closed on Sundays. 2 things you didn't realize were the case until you got there.
Listen, okay, if I wanted to read a poem about myself, I would have written it.
Well, what poem would you write then?
I would write a poem about a king.
Yeah, but that poem's been written.
Then I would write a poem about a bandit.
That too has been written. Also not very imaginative.
All right, then I would write a poem about a blacksmith, wait, let me finish, who gave all of the children in his town tetanus for making too much noise.
Believe it or not, that too has been written.
No.
Also, what's wrong with you?
All right. Then I would write a poem about myself. Okay, nobody's written a poem about me. It's impossible. There's no one even remotely like me, first of all.
That too has been written.
It's not true. It's just not true.
You don't believe me?
No, it's not possible.
Turn to page 9. Also page 35.
What's that?
So, as I was saying, when you come home from the DMV, you could see, even through the casement window by the entrance to your apartment, that your best girl was lying in bed with a strange man, the 2 of them rolling and rolling along over to your side of the bed like a couple of sweaty Twizzlers, rolling around right where you usually keep your bedtime things, your earmuffs, your industrial-sized lotion, your collector's set of B. Arthur on Broadway, things like that, you know. So there you were, unsure of if you'd ever get these things back, or even whether you'd get to sleep in your own bed again without having to cause a scene. And that's when it happened. The moment that changed your life forever.
And then tell them all how brave I was. Tell them what I did to the guy. Go ahead.
And so, it's not so much that there is one title out there that is meant for my poem above all others. Any of the titles I've suggested, in fact, bear my philosophy of poetry in mind. Still, the fact remains that I've only just thought of these things. And here you are at the end of the page, and by now, well, why are you even reading this poem?